Hey, Bill Caskey here. Welcome to the fourth Facebook Live event. Today we're going to take a little bit different tack, but I'm really glad you joined us. We're going to be taking questions today. So if you're watching this post-event, we will make every effort to answer your question on the stream. So if you want to ask one, then feel free to, and we'll make sure that we get to it somehow, either in the next Facebook Live event or in the stream. I'll make sure that I answer it as well. So we'll be starting here in about 30 seconds. And we're really glad you're with us today. We've been doing these, again, as I said, this is the fourth, and every week we pick up some viewers, and we really appreciate it. You know, the whole point of this video event is to inspire you, is to help you become better at what you do. I have this belief that if you want to achieve better results in the world, then your skills matter. And Brian Tracy talked about this for his 40-year span. In fact, I think he's still talking about that. And as if you want better results, get better skills. And so that's a lot of what we do at our company is when we work with organizations and individuals, it's really a lot about thinking change, attitude change, skills change, etc. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We ready to go, Travis? All right, here we go. For those of you just joining, my name is Bill Caskey. We do these every Tuesday at 3 p.m. And we have been talking in the first three about this idea of how do you sell your product if it's a premium product in a world of commodity. And we talked in the first episode about becoming really clear about what you do, what your value is. In the second episode last week, we talked about getting ready. How do you get ready to make those calls and to go to the market? We're going to postpone the third step of that, which is getting going or taking action. So this week we're going to handle some questions. We had lots of questions. We've got an email list of about, 5,000 or 6,000 people. So recently, in fact, in the last 24 hours, we sent out an email and we got a lot of questions back. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take each question one at a time. Most of them pertain to this idea, of selling a commodity, selling a premium product in a commodity world. So a couple of these don't, and I'm going to deviate a little bit as we go through these, not if I don't clear my throat, but I'll make sure that we try to bring it back to this idea of selling a premium product. If you did not get a chance to send in a question and you'd like to put the question in the stream and the feed, go ahead and do so. Travis then will be checking throughout the next 15, 20, 30 minutes, and he will put the questions right here to my right, which case I will grab them and I will read them and I will have no preparation time. So I had a chance to look through these and have a few comments. So we're ready to go? Oh, by the way, if you want more about this, you can go to billcaskey.com/pro for a chance to download a amateur versus professional cheat sheet, kind of a checklist to help you determine where you are on that continuum between amateur and professional. I think there'll be some eye-opening things there for you. So let's get started. There are some common themes today. One theme is process. Process. We talk a lot about that in our training. I talk about it a lot on the 2X podcast, which if you don't subscribe to, you should. It's a weekly podcast devoted to doubling your business, 2Xing your business. I spend a lot of time on process. Second theme today is value. What is your value? How do you communicate that value? So that's two. Number three, who you are and how you think. You know, there was a graphic introduced by Harvard Business Review a long time ago that talked about the product offer, and you have the core product at the center, and then on the outer ring you have the incremental products. So those things that you offer to your customers that aren't the core thing, but are out beside that. And then the third ring is the experience. What is the overall experience that your customer has with you? I'd like to add a fourth ring to that. Which, does that make it mine if I add a fourth ring? No. I want to add a fourth ring, and that is you. You, in business-to-business selling, are such a critical component of whether the customer buys from you, whether they understand your value communication, that you have to be on that circle. It can't just be product and experience. It has to be you. Now, you will be vital in the experience they have in buying the product from you, but you're a linchpin in that. And I don't understand why more training and models, business models, don't have the professional salesperson, everybody on this call today, You are a part of this process. In fact, I might even say you're at the center of it, because in a way they buy you before they buy the product or learn about the product. So who you are and how you think. Number 4 is mentality. I want you to have an ideal client mentality. An ideal client mentality means that we want to work with whom we want to work with. And we have to be very clear about what that client looks like. Demographically, psychographically, do they fit our profile of the kind of company we want to work with? Are they very closed and stodgy and we're a very carefree and fun organization? It's not going to fit. And so I think client mentality is important, also clarity, which we talked about in the last episode. So let's take these questions. I'm going to go through them one at a time here. I'll put my glasses on because I've got one good eye and one bad eye. Here we go. Bill, thanks for your videos. I sell accounting services for a mid-sized accounting firm. We are constantly in a battle with other smaller firms. We bring large value with our other services. However, most people just want tax work, which virtually anyone can do, even overseas. How do I get the customer to expand their perspective on what it means to purchase our accounting services and get them away from the commodity product or the tax product? If I can solve this, I become a linchpin in my business. Ooh, Eric. All right. So I just talked about this a little bit, and as I look through this question, you know, I'm kind of like a sniffer. I'm like a dog. I'm always sniffing for inside this question with the verbiage that a person uses. Are there any caution signs? Like if somebody were to write me a note and say, hey, how do I handle this situation? I really need this business. Well, I know they're going to be operating from a place of desperation and attachment and fear. And so I'm always looking to sniff out that. One thing I hear here with Eric is he says, if I can solve this, I can become a linchpin in my business. He put a smiley face there. Okay, maybe that's just a joke, or maybe he really does feel like he could become a linchpin, and now there's this pressure to go out and talk to these people and sell more stuff and get away just from the tax commodity. So I got to ask you that question first, Eric. I'll just assume that was funny. But if you hire a coach, make sure your coach sniffs out these things, because sometimes in between the lines there's a lot of good stuff. Number 2 is, are you really being of value? So you can talk about the tax work that you do and talk about all the other stuff, but what value are you, Eric, in this process? Have you thought about that? Have you watched the prior video that we did, I think last week, when we talked about getting ready? Have you produced anything of value? Have you documented a case study of any kind that speaks from the perspective of a client who really liked what you do and they did more than tax, somebody who used all of your services to grow their business, and what value that was? Have you documented that? If not, here's what happens. You go out and say, hey, you know, we got a lot of stuff here, we got a lot of things that are very valuable, you ought to be looking at them, and the customer says, well, of course you say that because you're selling them. So I want you to have your customers speak for you. In fact, there was a couple of these in here that had that idea of a case study. It doesn't have to be reams of documents and 10,000 words. It could be the customer looks into the camera, like I'm doing here, and says, here's what we were going through before Eric came along. Here's what happened. Here's what life is like now. They've helped us with this. They've helped us with this. We would not be where we are today if not for Eric and his firm. So if you can have someone say that, now it's not you saying it, it's somebody else. And I think that will move the needle a little bit. And the third thing is, well, the case study, but it's got to be a thorough case study. So when you get in, let's just say that you do strategic planning. And everybody has this issue of people see us as this, and we want to be seen as this. I have that in my business. People see what we do as purely sales training. Well, we do a lot of other things. We do account management training, we do leadership coaching, we do digital kind of branding training for the sales team. So we do a lot of stuff, and we're not all that good at it. So I know it's difficult, especially if your customer has this perspective of you here, and you're trying to get outside that box. So be thorough about the case study. Be very precise about the different things that your customer used when they did business with you. Great question, Eric. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. That's good. All right, number 2. Bill, have watched your premium product series, but you still haven't addressed my most common issue. Well, I'm sorry if I'd only known what it was. Here it is. I'm in account management, but have responsibility to grow our current client business. My main frustration is that when we go out to re-up the contract, I presume at year end, I get all sorts of pushback on price. So obviously we aren't doing something right. They love the service, but they always resist the price. What am I missing? Peter. Well, what are you missing here? What are you missing? I guess the question is, when you say they love the service, I'm sure they do. I want the customer to love the service so much that even if the price goes up, they consider it a bargain. And if you are not communicating that and delivering and keeping in touch with that customer, I know when we re-up contracts here occasionally, we want to have a lot of them, but we have a few, and I know here's when the salesperson starts calling, 30 days before the contract's up. I know exactly why. I know when they call. It's like the waiter or waitress that, maybe that's politically incorrect, but at a restaurant, they're really kind of gruff and short and mean, but when they bring the check, they're Mr. or Mrs. Effusive. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for coming in. I really enjoyed waiting on it. It's like, where was that 15 minutes ago? Well, why? Because the tip's about ready to be sorted out. So I don't want you to do that. I want you to be of value all year long. Think in your mind about what can I do all year so that when we get to the re-upping of the contract, it's not even a decision. They're not even talked about. They almost, you have to create the environment with your client here, not prospect, but client, where they are thankful that you're going to re-up the contract. They're grateful to you. They feel blessed that you are willing to work with them one more year because of all the value you bring. Here's what I would do, Peter. I would get your team together and I would ask each other to be rigorously honest with yourselves in a whiteboarding session and say, what can we be doing? Pointing toward this idea of how can we create a system that's so valuable and our service is so good. They don't just call when they need us. We call them because we have ideas for them so that at re-up time, it's a no-brainer. It's not even a decision. Do that. Now, sometimes your manager will get in the way there. Your manager will say, wait a minute, that's not your role. Your role is to bump up. It is your role. If you're in charge of re-upping contracts, you had better be serving them all the way through the year. Great question to Peter. Here's another one from Jackie. Mr. Caskey. Good start. I like that. This just happened this morning, so this email is very timely. I proposed a large solution to a prospect. I thought it was a done deal, only to find out I was competing against 2 other vendors and didn't know it. Should I have known that? How do you ask that question? And how do I save this one in the 11th hour? This deal could make my year, so I beg you to give me some good advice. Smiley face. She must know Eric here. They must have been from the same desperate company. Yeah, again, I'm sniffing out a little bit of desperation. I understand how these things work. I've been there before where it's decision time and you don't get much. You don't really hear that much from the customer or prospect, and it's frustrating because you put in all the work and you thought you were doing everything the right way and they didn't. So don't be desperate. Here's what I would do if you have the courage, and this is going to take tremendous courage, and don't tell your manager you're doing this because they will shoot this down very quickly. You need to go back to that customer and say, do you want me to continue to stay in this process? Because if you do, I really feel like I missed something and I need to reset and come back in and talk to you because I think there's some things that I just didn't do right, or I believe we'd be working together already. Or if you don't want me to stay involved, that's totally okay too. I don't want to be a pest. I don't want to be just hanging around, being the person that just turn around and you're always there. So have an honest conversation. You know what? We just decided that you weren't the company for us and that you're not the person for us and that your value doesn't match what we're looking for. I would rather hear that, if that's the truth, which it sounds like it might be, than to keep going on and on the 11th hour trying to save it, offering discounts, throwing stuff in, saying, hey, where are we, and starting to battle your competition. Why would you do that? I think the most important thing here is that you be big. Don't be small by hoping and pleading with the customer. Be big. And by being big, I mean be big enough to say, look, if you don't want to work with us, that's totally okay. I don't want to ruin a future relationship by pestering the hell out of you. I don't want to do that. So that takes some big panties, big pants, I mean. So anyway, that's a good reminder to all of us, I think, when we get into these situations where it's the 11th hour and things were going well, all of a sudden the wheels come off. And we don't know why the wheels came off. You need to go find out what happened, but be willing to walk. Because if you're going to walk, I would rather you walk now than after another 100 hours of putting in, trying to get a deal that never was going to come to you, and now you're out 100 hours. You're already out the 100 hours that it's taken you to get there, or whatever the hours are. But don't, what is the saying? Bad matters get worse. Don't take a bad matter and make it worse. Cut your losses. Or find out what the truth is. Very good question, Jackie. Here's one from Mark. I'm in a company where we sell large volume to a few clients. We have tried doing volume incentives. If the customer buys more, they get additional discounts. Got it. I have some customers who take me up on it, but most are reluctant. How do I package my volume incentive in a way that has people dying to get in? Well, that's a good question. I like the way you package that. I didn't sniff out any desperation here, so good job, Mark. What was it that Peter Drucker said, the famous management guru and author? He said something like, I know I'm not going to get this right, you need to create, innovate, and market your product in a way that the customer, what was it, the way the customer feels like it's just a no-brainer. It sells itself. That's what it was. Market your product, create your product in a way so it sells itself. And I think it's the same thing with a volume incentive or any kind of package or promotion you're trying to offer to your customers, is make sure you've packaged it in a way that the customer says, oh my gosh, I would be an absolute idiot not to take advantage of this. One thing I don't like about volume incentives, though, I don't like tying everything to money, into percents. Because if you say to me, you did $1 million this year, if you do $1.5 million next year, we'll give you an extra 2% off, I think I might say, wow, that's amazing, or I might say 2% off to do 1.5 million, that's 30,000. I mean, I could probably find somebody to give me that price anyway. What I would rather you do is package some other things around it. Package some ideas on ways they can save time in their business, make money in their business. If you're selling a product that actually helps them attract more clients, then put in a client attraction system of some kind for them. But think about volume incentives as more than just discounts. How are we doing on time, Travis? Huh?
15 minutes and
15?
18.
18. All right, good. We're good. We're doing well here. We got 4 or 5 more. These are good. This is from Jim. Fake name. Sounds like a fake name, doesn't it, Jim? We're working on getting warm referrals from consultants to get to clients. Any help on getting these consultants to feel comfortable introducing us to clients would be helpful. Their objections are basically inaction or fear, I would assume. Okay, good question, Jimmy. Appreciate that. This gets back to the channel idea. So you're going out to a market that exists out there, and you're going through a channel. In this case, it's the referrer channel. So let's say that you're going through accountants to get to their clients. I know that may not be what this is. But the question I have is, what are you doing to benefit not the end user, but to benefit the channel? How is them referring you to their client going to benefit them? We know how it's going to benefit you, but I bet you haven't done much work on how it's going to benefit them. Now, I don't mean financially, because sometimes it's not cool to pay a spiff. Like I would never go to an accounting firm and say, hey, if you refer me to 10 of your clients and I do $1 million, there's 5% sitting in a briefcase somewhere in Peoria for you. Why Peoria? No idea. So I don't like financial incentives. I mean, maybe if it's more subtle than that. What I would like to do is have the referrer feel so strongly about the favor they were doing for the referee that they couldn't not help them. They couldn't not tell them about you. So that's where I think another way a case study comes in, is if you can present your referrer, or the accountant in this model example, with here's how we helped one client. Here's what they came to us with. Here's what we did for them. Here's what their business life is like now. Here's what their P&L is like right now. Be really thorough. Don't be pitchy in this thing. Don't talk about how great you are throughout the thing. No, this is fact. A case study is a factual representation of what happened. So I like case studies here because then when I'm a referrer and I see what you're doing, why wouldn't I want to refer you to my customer base? Because I'm doing them a favor. I'm not doing you a favor. To hell with you. I don't care about you. What I care about is my client. And so if you can package that in a way, either a case study, a white paper, or something that helps your referrers see how much value is in it for them, I think you got a winner. It's a good question. Bill, thanks for the opportunity. The board of directors, these are the objections that Paul said he gets. The board of directors is considering your offer. The board of directors has not made a decision. The competitors agreed to provide these services without a written agreement. Why should I saddle our association with all that legal language you require? Okay, sounds like he calls on boards of directors for associations. Pretty genius that I figured that out, isn't it? So what's the answer to that? I got a couple things here. Well, it sounds to me like you're out of control. And it's hard to be in control when you are calling on boards of advisors, boards of directors, groups that you're not in front of. So you have to ask yourself an important question here. And that is, do you make your process such that appearing in front of the board is just a part of it? And I'm not suggesting that just yet because I don't know enough about your business, but you've got to change something. Remember, one of the first words I talked about today was process? You've got to change something in your process so that the board of directors or the decision board is somewhere in that thing. Because when it's not, here's what happens. You get in an arm wrestling match with your contact, and they say, I'm going to take it to the board. And you say, well, I'd be happy to appear in front of the board. Oh, no, they don't see salespeople in front of the board. I'll take it to them. Okay, well, what are you going to say? Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be in that role. So you have to decide if your value is significant enough and your process is good enough that you feel comfortable about sliding the be in front of the board or present to the board in your process somewhere. If they don't want to do that, they don't work with you. How committed are you to appearing in front of the board? Are you so committed that if they don't agree to do that, that you're going to walk or just not going to work with them because you find that it doesn't work very well if I don't have the board's perspective and their opinion and get to answer questions? And so you have to decide, are you willing to go that far? Okay, I don't know. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't, Paul. You in the center ring, too. I think you have to bring more value there. Okay, keep going. This is from Andrew. I love what you are doing here. Do you record these Facebook meetups? Yes, the Facebook will always be on the Bill Caskey fan page up the top, so you'll just scroll and we'll record each one of these and put it up there. Here are the objections that Andrew gets. Your price is too high. We are a commodity product, and we are higher priced due to exchange rate and freight costs. I got that. I'm in a similar business, one of my clients in a similar business where freight costs are out of this world. We like to support Canadian companies. I presume Andrew's company is not. We are happy with our current offer. That's good. A shingle is a shingle, so he must be in the shingle business. See how good I am about figuring out what business people are in? I bet he's in Canada, and I bet he's in the shingle business. Yeah. So my question to you, Andrew, is what is your value that separates you from everybody else? Another way to look at this, I had a friend of mine, Terry Slattery, who lives in Minnesota. He's in the training business, and he used to say, what are they giving up when they make a conscious decision not to do business with you? When they make a decision not to do business, what do they give up? Try that here. I just thought about that as I was reading your note. Try that and see if anything pops to mind there. I can tell you one thing they give up when they decide not to work with you. Do you know what that is, Andrew? It's you. It's you. If you see yourself as a commodity, then them giving you up won't make any difference. You won't be able to sell that. You won't feel valued there. That's why I still like the idea of you writing articles, producing content, being educational, producing something of value, bringing value outside of the shingle. And when you do that, they will have a harder time looking you in the eye and saying, you bring me no value. The only thing is the shingle. That's all I buy on, and the shingle is the shingle. It makes it harder for them to do that. So if you ask yourself the question of what does the customer give up if they decide not to work with me, then point number one should be you. Then you have to decide what are you bringing to the market and to your customers that they care about giving up. And if you're bringing nothing, if you're just stopping by, if you're bringing donuts, that would be something that I would take into consideration. But if you're just stopping by, visiting, bringing nothing of value, don't be surprised if it gets down to price. Don't be surprised. Good question. I say, are you truly a commodity? I don't think you are. Here, let me do something here. I know we didn't plan for this, Travis. Product, interest, experience, and then you. So here's my graph. This is terrible. Can you see this, Travis? In the middle is P, that stands for your product. Next ring out is incremental. It's the extras. It's maybe the warranty, maybe your customer service department. EX stands for experience. That's the overall experience they have with your client. And out here is you. And so this is the entire offer that you make to your customers. If all they're looking at is this, if they're just looking at the shingle, you don't have any other value there. And so the answer to what do they give up by not working with you, the answer is nothing. And that can't be, if the answer is nothing, you're in trouble. So I would get busy working on what are those other rings of value and deciding what they give up. So I hope that helps. I've really enjoyed it. Any other questions that come in, we'll make sure we answer them here in the stream. Once again, you can go to billcaskey.com/pro, P-R-O, not P-R-E-A-U-X, but pro, P-R-O. And there's a document there called Amateur versus Pro, and you can download it and take a little test, see how you do, see how you measure up there. So I've really enjoyed it today. I hope we're going to be doing this again next week, and we'll get back to the knitting of what's the next action to take when you go out and communicate your premium product or service in a commodity world. All right. Hope you have a great week. See you soon. Bye.